when people understand how to wrestle with their fear factors, greatness can be birthed. It can come alive in young people when fear can be suppressed and pressed down, because usually fear is what stops us from doing most things. I mean, think about it. It's a podcast. What was it? Before that, you could have probably been and started this 2, 3, 5 years ago. But too worried about the naysayers, you fearful of finances. You see what I'm saying? Like all of things is what we will set in the way of us transitioning and moving forward.
Empower You podcast is devoted to bringing real-world wisdom and encouragement to our listeners. We discuss a multitude of life principles and the process from an economic, cultural, and societal perspective. We believe that through tough conversations and shared wisdom, we can pave the path and leave a ladder for the future. Subscribe to our channel and let us empower you. Welcome to Empower You podcast. My name is Kid Boy Cooper, and I am so glad that you are here with me today. For our episode today, I'm taking a little time, right? I'm taking some time to go back over some of the incredible interviews that I've had on this podcast. And one of them is the interview with Denita Washington, Adams Township trustee, executive director of Fort Wayne Girls Rock. You heard a clip from her at the beginning of this podcast, and I really want to go over some of the things that she said, because here in this last, couple weeks, I've been encountering some things. I spoke earlier, last week about resistance, and I'm struggling with that. And I don't even want to say I'm struggling. How can I put this? I am learning to wrestle with the limiting effects of resistance. I'm learning to stand on what I believe and what I truly know in my heart is the right decision, regardless of what it looks like at the time. I'm learning that it is imperative that we sit with the things that we are afraid of, that we hold tight to our conviction to do things in spite of the fact that it may be supremely uncomfortable. There were so many things that Denita said during our interview that just continue to ring in my ears. And so I thought, for this episode, I'm going to go through and take some of those points that she made and share them with you and talk about them just a little bit. It is so important to me that we not only hear, right, but that we do, that we take some time to implement what we're learning, what we are discovering about ourselves, about faith, about perseverance, about the process, about momentum, about not being apologetic for who you are. There's so many things we're learning on this podcast, and I just want to make sure that I'm taking the time to really implement them. And some of the things that Denita Washington said in our interview have just continued to circle in my mind, and I want to share those with you, if that's okay. Here's another clip that I just find so inspiring, and I'm going to play that for you. And then I want you to think about it, and we'll talk about it. Okay? All right.
I always tell people I fight fear. I fight it, because I want to have an authentic encounter with people, and I want them to have that same experience with me. And so in fighting that generational curse, Even when I went to New Haven as a township trustee, you know what I mean? People call me fearful of me being out in New Haven. Literally. Now, baby, you be careful. Don't you be working late, because them folks out there, you got to be careful out there. I'm like, I worked out there at the high school and nobody said this to me. But now that I'm at the trustee office in a leadership role where I can be seen and governmental, now I need to be fearful. I just think sometimes, like you said, these myths will stop us from doing the work or stop us from breaking the chain. And I thought, no, I'm going to walk bold in this role. I'm going to walk bold in this. No, I need to be at that table. That is my assignment right now. If we take on a different perspective with breaking generational curses and cycles, then fear will go sit down somewhere. And that's what we got to teach our kids. They need to witness it, not just hear us speak it.
That was another clip from our interview. And I just think it's really important that we identify a couple of things that she's saying. One of the things that she mentioned, one of the things Miss Denita Washington mentioned, was that fear of unknown obstacles will stop us from reaching our ultimate goal. And I'll say that again. Fear of unknown obstacles will stop us from persevering in order to reach our goal. Now, I don't know what individual goals that you have, right? I know the goals that I have, but I want you to think about the things you truly desire and the reason maybe you haven't started them yet. You haven't started that process. Maybe you're procrastinating about something. Or maybe you are trembling as you begin some new endeavor or some drastic life change because your mind, your fear of unknown obstacles is trying to hold you back. This is real. Some of us, and you probably know a few people, I know some people, will stay in an uncomfortable position, a position that does not serve them, and a position that doesn't make them happy in their life, in their relationship, in their economic status, in their community, because they're so afraid of unknown obstacles. So I'm asking you, what unknown obstacles are you allowing to prevent you from stepping out into a more fulfilled and authentic you? What blessings are you depriving yourself of and others because you're fearful of the unknown obstacle that you may face if you go after that goal, if you pursue that thing, if you work harder, if you wake up an hour earlier? It's just a thought. I want you to think about that. Another point Miss Washington made was that when you wrestle with your fear factors, greatness can be born. Wrestling with your fear factors. I think that's such a great visual because it implies a couple things. One, I don't know if you've ever seen anyone wrestle or have wrestled yourself, but it is an all-encompassing activity. It takes every ounce of strength. It takes full commitment to wrestle with something or somebody. You have to be aware of the other person's ability to maneuver around you and your ability to defend and also try to take a dominant position. If you are wrestling with something, I don't want you to feel as though you are out of the ordinary. I don't want you to feel as though you're the only one wrestling. Because the reality is, we have to wrestle with our fear factors. We have to be fully engaged in dominating them. And that takes effort. It takes work. And so if you're feeling tired or feeling worn or in some way exhausted from time to time, it's okay, because wrestling with your fear factors is an all-encompassing activity, and it takes commitment. And if you're in there and you're wrestling, be proud of yourself, because you haven't given up. You may not be exactly where you want to be, but the reality is, if you don't stop wrestling, eventually you will win. Eventually you will beat that thing. Because it's only a matter of time. We learn things over time, and we can unlearn things over time. Our fears become great over time, and so it will take that same time, maybe a little more, to wrestle them into submission. It is a lifelong pursuit. She said, I fight fear. Fighting is an activity that is very, very direct and decisive. It doesn't happen passively. You can't passively fight someone off of you. You have to fully commit. And so I want you to fully commit to fighting, to wrestling with your fear factor. Because if we don't, if we allow our fear, if we allow our fear of unknown obstacles, if we don't wrestle with our fear factors, how can we achieve? How can we be of true service to ourselves and therefore to the people who we care about and we love? How can we be an example for youth and young children and our family members, our community, of what it means to be great? And you can establish whatever description of great you want. For us all, great means different things based off of the reality of where you are, your present reality. Your greatness is when you transfer, or your greatness is when you progress through your transformation period into your preferred reality. You've got two things on either side of you. You have your present reality with all of its limitations and all of its unknown fears, and you have your preferred reality where you believe that you will be, you can be, you want to be something different, something greater, something more authentic. And that transformation period in the middle that's that wrestling period of time. That's that period of time where you establish new habits for yourself, new thought patterns for yourself, new affirmations. You dump all of these negative, limiting beliefs off of your shoulders. You release things that maybe were dear to you at some time, at some point. This is that wrestling, that transformation period. That's all this wrestling that happens. And it is a lot. It can be frustrating. It can be hard, but it is still worth it. And you are still worthy of your desired reality, right? You don't have to stay where you are because you feel like your fear factor is too big for you to wrestle. You may feel like your fear factor is too old for you to wrestle. You may feel like your fear factor is too much You could never fully defeat your fear factor. But that's the work. That is your assignment, to wrestle your fear factors that will hinder you from truly becoming what you were meant to be. I want you to really think about this. I'm not telling you to go, be an astronaut or do something, wild. And I'm telling you that whatever it is that is truly in your heart to do that you maybe haven't done because you're fearful of unknown obstacles, because you're fearful of wrestling long periods of time with your fear factors. You are cheating yourself and therefore everyone else that you care about out of the you that you could be, all because you're afraid. Think about that. Who would you be if you weren't afraid? Who would you be? What could you accomplish if you wrestled with your fear factors instead of enabling them? What is your assignment? Are you escaping or dodging or avoiding your assignment, your purpose, your gifts, because you are afraid of the unknown obstacles that you might face along the way? Because you're worried about what it feels like to wrestle with yourself, to wrestle with the things that frighten you, that don't make you feel good, that maybe make you feel less than, the limiting beliefs that you have? Are you downplaying your existence in order to enable these things? What is your assignment? You are here to confront those fear factors in order to be your authentic self and then show up for your family, for your children, for your community, for your job, for yourself as that authentic self, full and complete and worthy of the love, of the peace, of the greatness that you already possess. This interview, ever since I recorded it, has really just been on my mind. So I appreciate you all for giving me some time to really go into this, because I'm wrestling with my own fear factors. I'm acknowledging that sometimes the fear of unknown obstacles has hindered me. And I also understand that greatness takes vulnerability. And I refuse to allow myself to be hindered, pinned down by my fear factors. And I hope this episode gives you the strength and the courage to refuse to be pinned down by your fear factors. Okay? We're all in this together. And I hope you find the peace and the strength to overcome what it is that is holding you back. Because when we learn to wrestle with our fear factors, greatness can be born. Thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate you for being here. I hope you share this with somebody. I hope you really internalize what you're hearing and what you're feeling right now as you listen to this podcast. And I wish you well. I hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you in just a little bit, okay? Peace. Empower You podcast is devoted to bringing real-world wisdom and encouragement to our listeners. We discuss a multitude of life principles and the process from an economic, cultural, and societal perspective. We believe that through tough conversations and shared wisdom, we can pave the path and leave a ladder for the future. Subscribe to our channel and let us empower you.